What advice would you give to newlyweds or couples just starting out on their relationship?
Hang on to your seat because it's going to be a bumpy ride. I mean, I'm trying to think about us. Like the first week we got, thing is, like when we got married, the day after we flew out to Hawaii to move out to live out there. So there was a lot of things going on. But the first week that we were there, it was like a honeymoon. So, I mean, we were riding on cloud nine for probably about a week or two. I would say this, and you know what? I'm going to steal this because it's not mine. But I was listening to Tim Ross, The Basement. I shared this with you the other day that he said something that I thought was really cool, and I'm going to butcher it up like crazy. But he had talked about vows and when you say I do, and how it's kind of impossible to really know the other person when you get married, like because you don't really know somebody like that until you live with them, until you're actually there in the trenches like every single day, right? So the way he described it was, you know, when you say I do, you're saying I do to all of the unknown things. Like you're saying that I'm willing to risk my comfort zone for all of these unknown things that I don't know about this other person. And I feel like that really kind of like threw me back. Like, man, I wish I kind of had that perspective because I didn't. You know, I didn't have that perspective going in the beginning. So if you're newly, you know, wedded, if you're newly married, or if you're about to get into marriage, understand that your ideal is for all the unknowns, and there are unknowns, and that's okay that there are unknowns. Like there are things that you just don't know about the other person that you have to, like there's things that I feel like now, like there are things that you and I are doing now that I'm like, now I'm starting to understand, you know what I mean? Like, and we've been together for over 10 years now. So there are things that are unknown and you're going to learn along the way, and that's okay. But just go in with that perspective. What would your advice be?
I feel like this is something that everybody says, but it just so key to everything is like communication. I think learning how to communicate is a big thing that you will need to learn, and a lot of that comes from knowing yourself and knowing how to communicate with the other person, because like in arguments that you might have, like I feel like a lot of times, especially in the beginning, maybe things might come off like defensive, like you might be very defensive, or even as we've been together for 10 years like you said, and there's been times where I get plenty defensive because it's like, me, like I don't mean things in a certain way, or me by now, like why do you do things this way? And so I get very defensive, and I know you can be very defensive as well. And so just learn, like knowing that about yourself and about the other person, and just like I said, learning just how to communicate with each other, because that's gonna be, I mean, you have to communicate every day, and learning the communication style of the other person as well. Just like I said, communication is huge. And it's very important. So the easier that you can make that, the better. I mean, you have to communicate every day, and learning the communication style of the other person as well. Just like I said, communication is huge. And it's very important. So the easier that you can make that, the better.